62 Noise interference. This numerical advantage came from the caution of Admiral Bifratha, who had planned to cover with a third, or 6 planes, which seemed to be enough. But at the last minute of the operation, he reduced the number of planes carrying bombs, increasing the escort team to 10. The Su-30 Mki fighter is now not only the treasure of the Air Force, it has almost become a myth of invincibility in the hearts of the whole people. With the help of the power of this aircraft, the young boy of the Eagle Squadron became an idol in the hearts of young people, and then with the help of the TV media, there was a long queue outside the Air Force registration office. Even elementary school students in New Delhi know that India has an aircraft that is invincible. A few days ago, Defense Secretary Singh called the Air Force Chief of Staff and told him that, politically, it was best not to lose a single Su-30. It was a reluctant request. Even in peacetime Air Force plane crashes were a common occurrence, but the Chief of Staff decided to take every Su-30 seriously to make sure they wouldn't be shot down by the other side. At this time, Sammy keenly found that the enemy plane was changing the radar mode and turned into one-to-one tracking, and the Indian fleet had already occupied an altitude advantage of about 1,000 meters. The colonel immediately ordered the group to divide into 2 directions and dive and turn. He hoped that doing so would appear on the radar display of the opponent as if they were fleeing. Major General Islam also sweated for Sammy in the early warning aircraft, because fishing with Sammy was not his original intention. After all, this old man is the most valuable ace of the Pakistan Air Force. However, old Sammy insisted on going out in person, and he had no choice. The Indian plane never fired, but they began to speed up, and it was obvious that Sammy's sudden turn under their nose, coupled with the chaotic formation of the 8 Pakistani planes that followed, tickled their hearts. "Abbas, you are heading towards Gujranwala with 2 teams, and I am heading towards Islamabad. You have to run faster. We will meet later." "Understood, boss." The large angle of attack of Team 2 Thunder turned, making the previous radar targeting of the Lion Squadron fall short. In fact, the R-77 missiles of the Su-30 of several fighter jets are already in a state where they can fire, and the pilots are confirming the final firing with the early warning aircraft. The escape of the enemy planes made it difficult for them. If they pursued south, estimated Vallon, there must be a strong anti-aircraft firepower where the 30th Army of the Pakistan Army was assembled. "Lion Squadron, I suggest you pursue the northern group, the jammers will then cross the border. They took off from Attock airfield half an hour ago, where the anti-aircraft fire is weak. You can shoot them all over Attock." "The Lion understands," Deputy Squadron Captain Sahili replied hesitantly. This is a moment for him to think about it. According to the agreement, he can temporarily decide to continue the pursuit, or lead half of the squadron to turn back. But the light spot representing the bandit was shaking on the HUD, and the distance was gradually shrinking. According to the information of the early warning aircraft, there is no decent air defense firepower in this area. This is evident from the number of medium-range warning radars detected. These radars are basically concentrated in other distant directions. Maybe Pakistan has some TV tracking systems on the ground that don't have to use radar tracking to guide legal Sidewinder or Chinese-made MiG missiles, but today the clouds are low and it's raining. Relying on these systems alone, the threat of these short-range missiles should drop to negligible levels. The Lion Squad, continue to accelerate the pursuit and maintain a high altitude. "We must complete the aiming within 1 minute," Sahili said. The pursuit was like a drill. The enemy was desperately escaping and sabotaging the target, and his squad followed closely behind. This feeling made him relax a little. After all, his squadron hadn't had any actual combat yet. Before, he reminded himself all the time that he was going deep into the enemy territory. The electronic jammer of the trailing brigade crossed the border at a speed of 400 km per hour. Its huge jamming ability limited its own communication, and its contact with the early warning aircraft could not be carried out anytime and anywhere, so it could only follow the original plan. Tail swarms keep their distance, which is a dangerous situation as an out-of-area electronic warfare aircraft. Even though all the radar antennas around it were interfered by strong noise, the Lion squadron was completely hidden in the strong interference noise, but only he himself was visible on the screen of the ground radar, so the pilot of this aircraft decided not to go too far, just circle the border a few times before further orders arrived. This conservative move makes Islam and Sami's plan feasible, and it's one reason why they have their radar in ambush 200 kilometers due west. There, the radar can still maintain a considerable burn-through distance once powered on. The Chinese technical consultant stationed in Pakistan has always used a conservative signal-to-interference ratio value as the basis to calculate the starting distance of the radar, which requires the help of early warning aircraft. Now the 32 missiles in the mountains are pointing to the sky and waiting for the enemy to appear, while the Lion squadron is gradually breaking away from the 120-kilometer absolute protection circle of the electronic jammer. However, the aiming time is still a serious issue for the ground commander. If the action is slow, the jammer 200 kilometers away can still find the emission source in time and find a way to deceive the frequency-agile radar. What is this time? Not yet. People know that we have to wait for the end of this battle to understand. 10 Su-30s lined up in an orderly formation, chasing after the fleeing Thunderbolt fighters. Sahili hopes his teammates can find a shortcut to lock onto the enemy aircraft as soon as possible. It is known that the team in front of the Thunder is very slick. They are very good at effectively destroying radar tracking at a distance of 40 kilometers, as if they had undergone special training, which made the Lion pilots become anxious. Captain Lion, I found a monopulse fire control radar nearby. The early warning aircraft sent an alarm. Sahili saw on the data link a suspected launch source of a suspected Sidewinder missile ground launching device 50 kilometers to the northeast. His fleet is currently at an altitude of over 4,000 meters, so he is not very concerned. He feels that if he invades the place and volleys for 15 minutes, not a single radar is detected, it is suspicious. However, neither Sahili nor the guide on the AWACS thought that there would really be a trap ahead. Captain Lion, a new radar source has been detected. C-band. Sahili glanced down at the display, which may be some kind of phased array radar that the Air Force Chief of Staff had assured that does not exist in the area, and the distance is only 25 kilometers. This was enough for the deputy squadron commander to break out in a cold sweat. Simply the radar is still scanning. Caution, launch anti-radiation missiles immediately. Understood. A Su-30 in the formation immediately turned to the suspicious radar. It would take another 15 seconds to reach the radar. If it succeeded in counter-attacking, there is no doubt that Major General Islam's long-planned counterattack will suffer great setbacks.